I went to a used clothes store and stole a pair of jeans. And I went to another one and I stole a polo shirt because that night was going to be my last night. And when they found me, I didn't want to be in the rags that I was in. And I had a little bit of money left over to check myself into one of these like bad hotels, like this, like
seedy,
just super seedy. And so I was going to be able to like take a shower, put clean clothes on, and then that was going to be it. I was just going to go until my heart stopped.
It's the Fit for Radio podcast. I'm your host, Drew Titeman, and as always, we are here at the Stafford Hills Club where you can do it all. You can drop your kid in the kids club, head off to the pool, maybe do a nice little workout upstairs in the brand new workout facilities. They've got classes, the whole deal. And of course, it is also the elite tennis center in the area and ranked #1 health and wellness facility in the entire Portland area. Check them out today at staffordhills.com. Tell them Drew sent you for half off your initiation. Today's guest, I've been really excited to sit down with him, and he's a busy guy, so I'm glad he could squeeze us in. This is a guy who's seen it all, from a tough upbringing to a soccer phenom, and then, of course, finds himself in some troubled water and then comes out the other side, still in a sports world, in kind of a surprising way. I'd like to introduce to the show Felipe Nystrom.
Oh, hey, thanks. That's a great intro. It's hard to follow.
Well, it's great to have you, and I know you're a humble guy, but you've been through a lot, and you really wrote your own story here, which is pretty cool. A lot of people would have faced the things that you faced and then not necessarily come out the other side. Now, let's start off. You were born and raised in Costa Rica?
I was. Yep. Born in San Jose, Costa Rica. My mom, she liked to move around a lot. So I can't really say I lived too long in one place. I think by the time I was 8, 9 years old, we had moved about 13 times.
Oh, wow.
But there is one town, Santa Ana. It's on the just west of the capital, San Jose. That would be where we spent the most years.
Okay. And so during this time, your mom's an American, correct? And your dad's from Costa Rica?
Correct. So my mom went down to Costa Rica in 78 with the Peace Corps. She was down there for a couple of years, loved it. Basically came back, got her stuff, and then moved back to Costa Rica and never came back to the U.S.
Oh, wow.
And as part of what she was doing down there, at the time she was helping this indigenous community read and write, things like that. And that's where she met my dad, a place called Talamanca, which is on the Atlantic coast of Costa Rica.
And so do they get married, or do they just have a baby, or how is he in your life?
No. So this was 80s, right? And even today, it's like a 5-hour drive across a river, then like a 3-hour horseback ride, and then another 2-hour hike to get up to. It's like extremely difficult to get up there.
Wow.
And this is today, right? So 80s.
Even worse or harder to get to.
Yeah. So I think my mom was afraid of having a baby out in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad, all he knew was that mountain. So she came back to the capital and he stayed there.
And so during those early years, you deal with a lot of stuff. Is that, I'm guessing partially because your mom is kind of a nomad. She's moving around and not giving you like a solidified place to stay. What kind of stuff were you dealing with during that time?
It's always interesting talking about this because one thing I'll say about my mom is as a human being, she's amazing. I mean, she's helped hundreds, thousands of people come out of poverty. She has a foundation. She runs a foundation down there. And it's all about building schools in communities that don't have schools, helping single mothers come out of wherever they are, help them get jobs. So she's helped a lot of people. But that is very hard work and it requires a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
And the sacrifice or the other side of that is that all of that time that's spent doing that was time that wasn't with us. And I have a
you're not with your kids because you're helping all these other people.
Right. And so unfortunately my first memories of life are basically living in terror because one of the projects she was working on was helping refugees from the Salvadorian War. This was like late 70s, 80s. So there's refugees. She was helping refugees come to Costa Rica and then helping them get set up here, finding them places to live. And she met who later became my brother's father.
Okay.
Young guy, seen who knows what through the war in El Salvador. Not necessarily fit to be a stepfather.
Mm-hmm. And a guardian.
So alcoholic. And so he would come home and just start beating me. This was when I was about maybe 2 years old. And so like my first memories, actually it's interesting, even to this day, and when I set up my drawers for my clothes, my sock and underwear drawer is always at the bottom, on the bottom drawer. And then everything else is on top on the other drawers. And it's because the bottom, that's where my socks and underwear or like my clothes were. Then whenever I would hear the gate open and I knew it was him, I would run and hide in there.
Oh my.
And hope that he wouldn't find me. And a lot of times because he was so drunk, he'd just like, I'd see him like stumble around.
And pass by and miss you.
Pass by. But he did find me quite a few times.
So, and I've got 3 kids, and one of them, they call her my caboose. That's what somebody said the other day. So she's quite a bit younger than my other kids. They've got a 10, an 8, and a 2.5-year-old. And so having just been holding her an hour ago or so, a 2-year-old is so fragile, both mentally and physically. And like you can do real harm during that time.
Yeah.
They say that a child, the way that they see an adult is completely formed by the age of 4. And so, you got to think during that time, your formative early years, you're having to hide and cower in fear.
Yeah. And that went on for, I guess, a couple of years. But obviously I was very little. So like the exact timeline is a little fuzzy, but
you're young.
Yeah. And there was another woman, another Salvadorian refugee who actually, I consider her like my grandmother. My grandmother from another mother. And my mom had hired her to take care of me.
Yeah.
And she was the one that stood up for me. She would get in between this guy and me. She took some licks as well.
Yeah.
From this guy.
That's brave of her.
And so she really became like a mother, grandmother figure to me. Eventually, my mom finally left this guy, or he left. I don't know. I'm not sure. He was gone. And there was a time where she didn't really have a partner. She actually, in hindsight, like now, because I've done a lot of work on like all of those years. And I think my mom there was some level of jealousy with this Marta is her name. With how well she was taking care of me and how well I got along with her. So she ended up firing her.
Of course.
And that was really important because that was like the person that made me feel safe.
And now she's gone.
And my mom is still doing all this work. She's never around, which again is great work, super important.
But there's collateral damage.
Yeah. On the family side. And so her theory, or I guess the way she saw it, was if we had a pair of shoes, even if they were like just barely hanging on, but we had a pair of shoes, we had enough because there were other people who didn't have shoes. So she needed to work as hard as she could so she could get all these other people's shoes, which
So
Sure.
there was a lot of times then that she couldn't see you guys, basically. She's so engulfed in this big kind of overarching help that the most important ones that need to be helped are, whether it's on accident or not, are being overseen.
Yeah. Yeah. And in her mind, even to well, I haven't talked to her in a long time. I have we'll talk about recovery later, but I tried to reach out, but
Later on.
she just doesn't see it. She says, we're alive. So that was good enough.
Yeah, I can totally see that. So is this abuse? Are you still getting?
Yeah. So the reason that was important was, so once Marta was gone, now, by this time there was my brother. So now I'm a little older, 5, 6, 7, 8. My brother's a couple years younger. She would just find random people to leave us with.
That's not good.
And so, one of the things that I've always tried to, I guess it was a really big, what's the word? That just really stuck with me was these Tuesday and Thursday women's meetings she would have, where it was women who had suffered from abuse, domestic violence, rape. I don't know if we can.
Yeah,
rape,
physical, sexual abuse, all the stuff.
So she had these women's groups that she would go to, 6 to 8, Tuesdays and Thursdays. So that meant, with me being, 5, 6, 7 years old, and my brother being a couple years younger, so he was like 3, 4, 5. We needed to be left with somebody, and she would just find whoever could leave us with. And so there's one particular babysitter, a woman, who was sexually abusing me. And I think, and again, with the work that I've done afterwards, one of the hardest things about that time was not just the abuse, was whenever my mom was leaving, I would throw these horrible temper tantrums. I remember, I would yell and kick and scream and cry. And to her, I was just
throwing a fit,
throwing a temper tantrum.
Would you tell her what was happening?
I don't think so.
Couldn't articulate that to her.
I don't think I had the words to it's
guessing you're afraid of it too.
You don't really know what's going on. Like, it doesn't feel right, but
you're too young to compute and be like, hey, mom, this is sexual abuse.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
For me, it was don't leave, don't go, don't leave us. That was the kind of thing that I would say. But because I was throwing a temper tantrum, then she would spank me or like hit me.
So you're getting abuse as you're trying to run from the abuse from another.
Exactly. And so now I had just gotten beat by my mom because I was throwing this temper tantrum. Then this woman would come in. She would sexually abuse me. And it was just
traumatic.
Really, really bad. A really bad situation. A few times, unfortunately, that woman wasn't available. So she left us with different guys. One of them also sexually abused me. And it was the same thing. Like, I never want to see that guy. I never want to stay here with that guy. And she's like, I need to go help these women. These women need me. You're fine. You're just being a brat, things like that.
And think about that. She's going to help people who are the victims of abuse. And while that's happening, you're a victim of abuse.
Yep. This created this feeling of, I knew things were wrong, but also this is my mother and she's telling me that this is what the right thing is. So I need to listen to that. And so my mind was completely split. Like, deep down, I knew it was bad. I knew it was wrong, but she's telling me that it's fine, that this is what needs to happen. And if I go against what she says, then I get in trouble. If I go with what she says, I get hurt.
There's no way out. There's no clean path.
There wasn't. And of course, being so young at the time, I didn't really see it this way. I didn't know what was going on. Didn't know how to process those feelings. But this continued until I was about maybe 10 years old, because then my sister's father came in to the picture. another Salvadorian refugee. And same thing, young guy. He would just hit us. He wasn't as bad as the first one. The first one was
The worst.
my brother's dad. He was really bad. This other guy, he just didn't know what to do with 3 kids.
Yeah, he was
Two
kind of
of them.
flung into it.
2 of them that weren't his.
And so many of these people, and let me make this clear, I'm not making excuses for them, but you come from a different place in a different time than we're looking at now. You like even myself and, you are a perfect example, but we were all spanked. There was more physical violence involved in quote unquote raising a child than there is now. Like my kids have never been spanked, partially because they're girls and I feel weird, but it's a different time. And when you're coming from a different culture too, who knows if they were getting just beat rampantly as a child. I'm guessing they were if they're growing up to be an alcoholic and to hit first.
Yep.
And so, like I said, that's no excuse. It's just a culture of abuse that rolls downhill.
And I think that's super important. And it's part of a really big motivator in my life today, because it's exactly that. That today, I can kind of extract myself from the situation, try to look at it objectively and see what I can learn from it. And I can only imagine the things that they have seen. I mean, they're coming from this horrible war, like family members getting dismembered in front of them, there's all sorts of things happening. So they're not in the best place to be able to raise children, plus whatever they went through when they were kids, right? And how they were raised, exactly that. Like
they have scars that they're working through.
Yeah. And so for me, today, that's really important because I get to choose whether I want to continue that pattern, or I can say that was wrong. It's a clean slate. So starting my generation,
It stops here.
And so between my son and myself, we're going to do things differently.
Yes.
So all of this continued until I was about maybe 10-ish, 13. Home life. Then this is another example of like the good and the bad. So because of the work my mom did, she knew a lot of people. She was in education, and she helped start some really good schools, private schools.
Nice.
In Costa Rica. One of them called Country Day School. And this is a school that was founded to give, because of Dole and Chiquita, Bananas, and all these U.S. companies had their people being sent to Costa Rica to run operations, things like that. They wanted their kids to have a U.S. education.
Okay.
So these are private schools, super expensive, super elite, like really, really good education.
Yeah, lucky to have that in that space.
And so I got to go there for free.
Nice.
Kids are mean.
Yeah, they are.
Some rich kids, not all.
A lot of, and especially at that age and in that time frame of years too. It was. I feel like there was no reporting the bully, all the stuff. It just kept going, bam, bam, bam.
Yep. So they find out we don't have money, and it wasn't necessarily that my family didn't have money. Like my mom's family in the U.S., they're okay. It's not to make it seem like I was dirt poor.
But
right?
in their mind, they're the hoity-toity. They have it all, and so those who have a little or even a medium amount is poor to them.
And it's more like my mom was making the conscious decision to live a certain way, so that she could give more to other people.
But kids don't see it that way. They're just like, well, you have nothing.
Oh, look at your shoes.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's when bullying started. So now the home life, there isn't a guy anymore.
But it's at school that you're suffering the abuse.
And after so many years of basically all of my formative years, like all I've known up until that point is fear and feeling like I'm not worthy, feeling like I'm less than everybody else. Ultimately, like I deserve to be treated the way I'm being treated, and it just becomes normal. So there isn't anything. It's not like today where like you can report bullies and things
Yeah,
like
and then
that.
it actually stops.
Yeah.
No, none of that.
You get more beat up.
Yeah, 100%.
So, again, it's I don't know, let's call it the yin and the yang. I'm getting this amazing education, right? But at the same time, it's horrible.
You're going through
to
hell.
school.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, I almost would prefer to go to a bad school where they're nice to me.
Exactly. So it actually got, and again, most of what I can talk about now is after many years of working on myself and realizing what was happening back then. At the time, I didn't know what was happening. But I think the very first time my body just broke down was when I was in 6th grade. I started getting asthma out of the blue.
Oh,
And it was basically stress-induced asthma, and because of everything.
kind of like a mini panic attack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I actually ended up being in the hospital, having to go to the hospital several times. It was the worst time. I was in the hospital for like 2 weeks trying to get rid of this asthma. I don't really get asthma, or like I all of a sudden just can't breathe. Usually it's like I get a little sick, maybe allergies, cold, and then asthma. And it's always
then it
2
goes.
weeks.
Oh, okay.
It's always dealing with for 2 weeks. The intensity or like how bad it is can vary, but it's always just 2 weeks.
That's interesting. It's funny how the body reacts too. It's like, even if you're like, okay, I'm fine, subconsciously you're not.
Mhm.
And so it's like your nervous system can't handle it.
Yep. And I think that's what I decided is that the 2 weeks is just what my body needs to reset. It's like it broke down. It needs to get away from everything.
Needs a little rest stop.
2 weeks.
Right back. The Fit for Radio podcast brought to you in part by Motorsport Hillsboro. And if you haven't been there, you are truly missing out. This is a Northwest gem, and spring, of course, is officially here, and Motorsport Hillsboro is hooking it up. And with those gas prices on the rise, the prices at Motorsport Hillsboro continue to fall. No joke. The inventory is crazy. They buy like crazy to make it so you can save like crazy. Go check them out today. $8,000 off MSRP for a Kawasaki Ridge right now. I mean, driving away with something like that feels like a steal. 60% off those gas bikes. And with gas prices the way that they are, those e-bikes are exactly what you want to be on. And it's your KO Connection expert service that you won't find online on all those products, and the Northwest's best financing. No joke. Check them out today. Motorsport Hillsboro. It's my favorite spot to get anything to do with moto. And of course, stay rad, save gas. So you're dealing with the asthma, the stress-induced asthma, and I do know that you were a pretty good soccer player at one point. At what point do athletics come into play, and is that something that helps with this agony that you're dealing with your peers at school?
Yeah, so absolutely. So sports. I was always into sports. I was in gymnastics. I was started playing soccer. Actually, when I was 8, I joined my first team. And sports, but specifically soccer. It ended up being like my escape. So when all of this was happening, in school or at home, when I was on the soccer field, it's like everything went away.
No one could do anything to you.
There were rules. For the most part, they were followed.
If you hurt me here, you're getting a yellow card.
There was a family component to it.
Yes.
To a team. Being part of a team where you work together, which is something that I did not have, was not getting at home. And it actually made me, I'm like fiercely loyal to teams. Whenever I'm part of one, it becomes like my family.
You're all in.
Yeah. And I guess subconsciously, again, 8, 9, 10 years old, you don't think about these things, you don't process them, but subconsciously it just became my escape, to the point where I was now a little bit bigger or older, I didn't have to be at home all the time. I didn't have to be taken care of by somebody. I could just go out and, ride my bike to the soccer field and play until it was dark. And then, because before, you just go and you come back at some point, right?
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
No location, no.
Oh, yeah. It was just, you were in the wind back then.
Yeah. Maybe you go and maybe at some point you come back.
Yeah.
So I joined my first soccer team when I was 8, and it was great. And then one time we played against one of the biggest teams in the country, their development teams, Saprissa. They've come to play the Timbers a couple times.
Yeah.
And they liked how I played. So after the game, they came up to me and asked me if I wanted to go play with them, which would have been an amazing opportunity. And the problem was where they trained is in this park in San Jose. It's not the most safe place after dark. I was 10, 11, 12 years old. And so my mom, because of the work she was doing, again, she's doing all this amazing stuff, helping people. That meant I didn't have a ride.
Of course.
So to get to this place, it meant having to take like an hour and a half long bus ride, crossing this dangerous park by myself, training from like 4 to 6. And then now it's evening.
Do it all again.
Park again at night. And then the hour and a half back home. And so I didn't last very long there because I was scared of the park.
Yeah, it makes sense. That's a lot for a kid to deal with.
Yeah. So, but I still continue to play soccer. In 6th grade, I couldn't keep going. The bullying, it was just too much at that school. So I went to a different school. Around 12, 13, I also got into cycling a little bit. So I would go and ride my bike in the morning to train.
Yeah.
Go to school. Then from school, go to the soccer field because now I'm, let's say 12, 13 years old. Now I'm a little bit older. Got myself on another team, the development team for another first division team. Would train 4 to 6, go home, go to gymnastics. It was anything I could do to not go home, right? Just to be outside of the house. I just did not want to be there. And everything was trying to find ways to do it for free, basically. So like gymnastics, I would clean the gym in exchange for
be able to do it,
be able to train, right?
That's cool.
Or on Saturdays they had birthday parties, so I'd work the birthday parties so I could do that.
So you were driven early. I mean, most kids when they're that age are not going to go take long bus rides to practice, and they're not going to work hard to be somewhere, even if you can't afford it. It's like, oh, well, we can't do it. Yeah. So you were driven to get it done.
Now I try to put a positive spin on everything, on the things that happened to me. So yeah, I was driven because I didn't want to be home.
Yeah.
It was painful to be there. So I was like, or figure it out.
And I have a feeling that that's probably was a hard thing. You know how your mom, you've said that where you've tried to address these things with her as an adult, and then she's like, "Oh, no, you were fine." I feel like part of it is when she hears all those things, it's a lot easier to put a Band-Aid on it than to admit that. I mean, the writing's on the wall. Your child doesn't want to be at your house, and so there's a problem, right? Like if my girls don't want to be at my house, why? And if the why is I didn't keep them safe, that's going to be hard for me to hear. Right. And even if I'm, you're in the wrong, you can see why a parent, especially from a generation ago, are going to deflect and they're going to push a hand out. I don't want to hear you because it hurt. The truth hurts too much. So why not live with blinders on? I kind of feel like that's what happened.
Yeah. And it's hard because, especially now, because I obviously went about addressing it before in all the incorrect ways, right? It was yelling, it was like
lashing out.
So over the last decade that I've been in recovery, one of the times I've tried to address it, just having a conversation for her, it's like doing it the way we were doing it 20 years ago.
Oh, so she gets all agitated.
She gets she goes from 0 to 100.
And you're trying to stay calm and talk.
Yeah. And ultimately what it comes down to is she just doesn't see, and she doesn't see what it'd be one thing if she knew she did something wrong and was just trying to deny it. She just doesn't see it.
She doesn't see any of
that. She thinks it was fine. She
that you're being soft.
She did the right thing. And that's where we just can't seem to break through that barrier.
Because it's not fair to you for you to just say, okay, then that's the way it was, because that narrative isn't correct. And so you can't let history say that, or else then it's all your fault. That's not cool or fair.
Yeah. And again, it's one of those things where I could continue to try to hurt myself. I think one of the things that happens when you go through these traumatic experiences, you tend to either repeat them, and the way it comes out is you pass it on to other people. So you do the same things to other people, or you internalize it and you do the damage to yourself. And I'm one to, I don't want to hurt anybody. I will definitely damage myself all the way, all day. But I think it's part of the reason why I'm semi-okay at riding bikes.
Because you can take the pain.
When it hurts, it's like, I'm going to hurt more than you can.
Yeah. And we're going to get to that, because that becomes a big part of your story. Now, at some point, soccer dries up for you, because are you getting hurt? What happens in your soccer career?
So there are a few different components to it. One is, so now we're talking, let's say 15, 16 years old.
Yeah.
Brother's 13, 14. My brother actually started using drugs when he was 8.
Whoa.
And there were a lot of problems at home with that, because, I'd have go and do my little odd jobs. We'd try to save some money. He would steal it to go buy drugs. I'd tell my mom, and my mom would get mad at me for lying about him stealing.
Oh, so even then,
to this day, they have a very codependent relationship. It's a really weird codependent relationship where he knows she wasn't there for him, and she knows the things he's doing. With each other, they have a terrible relationship, but to the outside world, he only speaks wonders about her, and he only speaks wonders about him. So they have this
they're like the public relations officer for each person.
Exactly. And so they get along great to the outside world.
Yeah, but then when they'll bicker to each other.
16, 17, I think all this stuff started catching up with me. And now they're just finding all the sports or just being outside of the house is not enough. Shouldn't have been. I needed help. I needed professional help, and I didn't have that help. I didn't have the resources at the time. I didn't know I needed the help.
You were kind of just kept pushing it down and pushing it down.
Yeah. And so one day it was right on the brink. I had already dressed for first division games.
Nice.
And I was really young to do it, 17-ish. So I was close. And then one day during training, this other guy and I got to the ball right about the same time, and he broke my ankle. One of the first things they told me was that it would be really hard to play again. And unfortunately, I think I let myself get defeated by that. I don't know, in hindsight, maybe it's true. Maybe I wasn't going to be able to play at that level anymore. Or if I had maybe worked hard, maybe I could have come back. But I didn't give myself that opportunity. I just took it and defeated myself.
The hope had been dashed.
Everything that I had worked for, the thing that I thought I wanted to do, the thing that I wanted, that made me happy, that I was passionate about, was now gone. And without the support of having anybody to talk to, I think my responsibility is I probably made the wrong choice and didn't even try. I just took it. And that's when I think throughout my life, I was always depressed. I just didn't know it. when that was taken away, or when I thought it was taken away, I think all of these things that I was pushing down for all those years, just all of a sudden came
Right
up.
Right to the surface.
Exploded. And I was like, life isn't fair. I had good grades. I train. I do this, and I can't get anything. And just self-pity.
The woe is me.
Victimizing myself. I'm in the recovery groups, and one of the sayings is like, poor me, because you start getting into this thing like, poor me, poor me. And then that poor me leads to pour me another drink, and then pour me another drink. And I was like, I think it was like a turning point was, well, F this, my brother's doing like all the drugs, drinking, and he seems to have a great relationship with my mom. Okay, I'm going to drink a beer.
Yeah.
And that was one of the first time I drank. And I hated it. It tasted horrible.
Yeah, that first beer tastes awful.
Why do people want to do this?
Yeah, I think honestly, the first time I got peer pressured into a beer, I'm pretty sure that I turned my back and poured half of it into the grass because I was like, this is disgusting.
Yeah. And then I remember the first time I got like really drunk. They kept giving me rum and Coke. And I'm like, yeah. And I don't even know how many I drank. It was probably like 3 of them, but I was gone. I was vomiting. I felt horrible. The next day, I thought I was going to die. It was terrible. And for like, I don't know, almost a year after that, I couldn't even smell a Coke because
it ruins Coca-Cola immediately.
But I started going out a little bit. I had always liked electronic music. That was just even from like before electronic music was like when it was just getting.
You were drawn to it.
Yeah. Just that techno pop, Euro pop, Real McCoy, Highway. And so one day, some friends and we went to this club. I'd never been to a club. I'd rarely gone out because I was always, I have a game tomorrow.
You were a good kid.
Yeah. Discipline.
Disciplined kid.
Yeah. With my temper tantrums and I was very volatile.
Yeah.
Because of everything. So, I wouldn't necessarily say I was a good kid.
Okay.
But
I mean, there's a reason for your lash outs too, looking back on with hindsight, but I see what you're saying. It wasn't like everything was easy peasy all the time.
Yeah. And I always try to be careful. Like sometimes it's not like I'm trying to blame my mom for everything or blame other people. Like I have to take responsibility for the things I do.
Yeah.
And even if at the time I was too young to be able to do that, now I am old enough to do it and recognize that was the wrong way to deal with that. And
that's responsible. I mean, honestly, I think that you've done a great job in recovery, but I think that it's part of that is acknowledging that you are part of the story and not to only play victim because that's a good way to run into a pitfall.
Oh yeah. So we went to this club. It was this really fancy, there's this was time when you remember the Matrix.
Oh yeah,
that scene where the leather trench coats and the glasses and the dyed hair, or Blade and those movies. And all these people, these guys, they look like models. The girls, they look like supermodels. It was just everything. Everybody was dressed so cool, and everybody was just really cool. And I drank a couple beers, and all these there was these guys. They were super nice. They're like, "Hey, what are you drinking?" I don't know. I don't even know what I'm drinking. I was like, "Oh, try this." And then the girls, they too were coming up to me and they were like, "Come on, let's dance." And I was never really popular. I was just
So this is a new feeling.
So now I'm a little tipsy, probably drunk, right? In the lightweight. And then all these people are talking to me and they're treating me like they're friends, which is something I'd never really had. At one point, I got up on a table and took my shirt off. And just
you're getting after it.
We're doing it. That was important. That feeling in that moment, I was in a place where I was wanted. So the next day we went to the rave, and one of the guys, he's like, so I know you've never really drank or anything, but somebody just gave me an ecstasy pill. You want half of it? And I didn't know what to do. I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah.
I had no idea what it was. But in my bright mind, I'm like, well, if you don't want it, I'll have it all. I don't know.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, no, start with half. Just take it easy. Okay. So I took the half. And like an hour goes by and nothing's happening. And the guy, he's like, so how are you feeling? And I'm like, I'm not feeling anything. I don't know. Am I supposed to feel? He's like, just give it a little bit. And now it was getting a little later. I was tired because 2 nights out in a row.
That's a lot.
And I'm thinking I'm going to leave. And I walk by this light. There's acid, the acid world. I walk by that and I catch a glimpse of something in the corner of my eye. I'm like, oh, I think something's happening here.
Yeah, here it goes.
And then I start feeling this tingling sensation. And like, now I'm starting to feel really happy, like really, really happy. And I go find some other people that I was with. I'm like, is this what it's supposed to do? Like, I don't know. Like, touch my arm. Like, this is great. And so that was like what I now know was like my first high.
Yeah.
And
so you would unleash the beast at
it's the
this
thing that from that moment on, I was chasing for years. It was the happiest I had ever felt.
Mm-hmm.
It was the greatest I had ever felt. It was like there was love in the world. Everybody loved me. I loved everybody. There was no pain. Nothing that had happened in my life before mattered because this was amazing.
You were in this moment.
Yeah.
The Fit for Radio podcast is brought to you by the Stafford Hills Club. And if you've never come here and taken one of their classes, you really should do so. Their instructors are really good. I took the Pilates Reformer class here, and she made me feel like I could be comfortable in the room. Let's get it right, though. I've got a lot to learn when it comes to Pilates, but that's how you do it. You just got to show up and give it your best right here at Stafford Hills. They make you feel comfortable, and it's a family environment, not just being able to bring your family here, but also the people together feel like a family. Check out everything to offer at staffordhills.com. Tell them Drew sent you for half off your initiation.
Chasing that first high became my thing for the next decade-ish. And at first, I was able to control it. Once every couple months. I wasn't going out very often. Then one of the things that also kind of compounded on the stuff that had happened before in school with the bullying and all that. I always thought that when I got to university, people were older and it would be different.
Yeah.
University is a little bit different in Costa Rica. Some people do have the opportunity to go right from high school into university. I'd say there's a very good, not majority, maybe even 50-50 of adult learners. So
okay.
people that had to
work for a while to get the money or whatever.
Several years, help the family, and then come back in their 30s.
Okay.
Or even 40s, right? So some of my classes I had in the morning, and those were people that were about my age. The afternoon and evening classes, there was people that were like twice my age.
Mm-hmm.
And that part is important because I never really felt like I fit anywhere. And every time I thought that I was going to fit somewhere, it turned out I didn't fit there. I didn't fit in my family. Going back to like, I know these things are wrong, but my mom is saying they're right. So there's that in high school or high school, middle school. Not very popular. I had some friends and all that, but still also kind of didn't fit there.
Yeah.
Now in university, I don't really fit there either. So now it's like, where do I fit? While at the same time, now at 19, 20, I'm finding where I fit, or at least I think I fit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the dangerous part of like drugs and alcohol is on Friday night, everybody's your friend.
Yeah.
As soon as the money runs out, as soon as the drugs run out,
Yeah. That's the end of
there
it.
anymore. So now you have to like keep doing it. So at first I was kept it somewhat under control. And then one day someone introduced me to cocaine. And I'll never forget the guy. What he told me. He said, "I'm going to give you some of this, but I want you to be careful. This is white death. This will come up from behind. It will hug you from behind and start squeezing, and you won't know it, but it'll squeeze slowly until it kills you." And I'm like, "What's wrong with you? What are you on? Just give it to me."
Yeah. Enough warnings.
And that was definitely, I was always, because of my personality, the type of person I am, how I am, uppers are definitely my thing. So that probably saves me from doing other drugs. I don't know that that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's one thing about addicts I find is like the ones that did the type of drugs I did will look down on the other drugs.
On the other drugs. At least I wasn't in meth. And like, you can point
like,
real quick.
At least I wasn't doing. They said you knew heroin.
Yes, exactly.
Those guys are like, yeah, you did coke.
Yeah.
So,
a lot of finger pointing.
yeah. So coke, that was the one. That was so I even to this day, I do a lot of work around this, and I talk to my sponsor, but like obviously now I know it's bad and I don't do it anymore. But they're like in the back of my head every once in a while. It's like, man, if I could find a way to
little party time
to be able to control it, like
because you loved it
for me, for ecstasy for sure. But the coke was the one that just completely destroyed me. So again, same thing. Started off with a little bit. 1 gram would last me even a couple weeks. But that one within very short amount of times, few months. Now 1 gram was a night, and then it was 2 grams a night, and now it was 2 or 3 times a week. And
yeah, and a lot of people don't know this, especially if they've never done this drug, is that it has a very short life. So you do the drug, and a half hour later you need more of it, and then a half hour later you need more of it, and then a half hour later you've solved world hunger and 5 other things on a porch somewhere.
Going to the gym. If we're going to start going to the gym every day at 5 a.m. and then we're going to eat healthy.
Yeah, a lot of plans there,
Yeah.
but it is a drug it's scary in the fact like somebody could take an ecstasy pill and it would ride them all the way through the night and then be like, oh, what happened? Whereas in people who do cocaine, they're going back to the ATM. They're looking for more.
Yep. And for me, it was always this perfect, never too drunk in my mind, never too drunk, never too high. So like there was the trinity for me was a beer, a cigarette, and coke. So just switch them out and then throw a couple tequila shots between beers
just to keep you warmed up. So that this goes on for a while. At what point does it reach like a fever point that it's getting out of control?
Well, I think very quickly. So this would have been maybe 19, 20 years old. And right around then in the party life, that's when I met who would then later become my son's mom. I think, and I definitely can't blame her. She wasn't holding a gun to my head to do this stuff, but
enabling each other.
I probably would have ended up in the same place anyway, but she was the one. She was actually the one that like really brought coke into my life, right? Like she was the one it was like every day.
That was her thing.
Yeah. And for me, unfortunately, my codependence and my fear of abandonment, and feeling that I wasn't good enough, was lucky enough to have a girlfriend. So all she had to do was, if we don't go out tonight, we're breaking up. And so like, we gotta go out.
Yeah, okay, we're fine.
Yes. Because there were times in the beginning where I was like, we can't keep doing this. There's still this, like,
you knew it was
bad.
You were doing something that was going to hurt you.
Yeah. And she's like, all these other guys that will take me out and do it and buy me, and like, all right, we don't want that.
That's a toxic scenario.
Oh yeah. But and in every codependent relationship, you need both parts, right? You need the person kind of manipulating, but you also need the person that's like, the willing soldier, right?
Yeah.
And so with her, it was like never ending. I worked from 3 to 11. I got back to her place around 11:15. We were at the bar, 11:30, party until 5, 6 in the morning when the bar closed. And on the way out, we'd buy like 20, 30 cans of beer to keep partying at her house. It was just, and then at some point when I could, it's like, oh, it's 1:00. I should probably take a shower and get ready to go to work and then do it again the next day.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, eventually it got to the point where I was just like, I don't know how I kept jobs.
Yeah, because you're just running it
Just
on empty.
constantly going. Weekends were Thursday through Tuesday. Paychecks, as soon as they hit, it was gone. And then when we found out she was pregnant, there's this half-assed attempt to stop. And I told her, like, we had it was a super toxic relationship. It was bad. We were really bad for each other. I didn't know how to be in a relationship. I just didn't want to be abandoned. She had her issues. And
the drugs are kind of the connection that's holding you two together.
Yep. And so I did tell her, like, we're going to end up killing each other. We need to stop, especially now that we have kids and we're going to have a kid. And she was like, I'm young. I want to as soon as he's 6 months, I'm going to stop breastfeeding and I'm going to keep partying. And so from that moment on, it was like, all right, well, you're the mom, I'm the dad, but you and I, we're not together. Things for me are just getting worse and worse and worse. I can keep jobs. I'm really good at getting jobs at this point. And call centers were a big thing, or still are, I guess, in Costa Rica. And because I can speak both languages pretty well,
you have a value there.
It was relatively easy to, like, oh yeah, but I would barely make it through training.
Yeah.
And then get that first paycheck, go on a bender, and then like, yeah, we can't have you anymore. So now I guess it was 22, 23 when my son was born. Now I know my life is bad. Like, I'm not doing the right thing. I know it's not. I know it's wrong. And I try to stop for the first time. Like, actually stop. Like I have a kid now.
Yeah.
We need to stop. And I can't.
Uh-oh.
And I was I had said, oh yeah, I can stop whenever I want. And maybe I'd go, the problem was I never wanted to. And maybe I'd go 1 or 2 days because I ran out of money. So I had no choice.
Yeah.
But the first time I tried to stop and couldn't, that was like the confirming, I guess, what I already knew deep down, but like to actually be confronted with that, like, oh,
now it's a problem.
This is a problem. And I really can't stop. So my visitation was basically, I had at first I had Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3 to 5. So I made sure that I was good then. Then we went to Friday through Sunday. So I didn't do anything Friday to Sunday, but on the way, as soon as I dropped him off Sunday night, it was like,
boom,
full gas, making up for those 3-4 days, whatever, of not doing anything. And there were times where I would just be in my apartment when I still had one and just, I don't want to do this. This is horrible. I'm a failure. My life is a failure. I don't deserve to be alive. I definitely am better off being dead. And I would basically, at this point, I wasn't even going out anymore. It was just in my apartment, begging, praying that robbers will break into my apartment and just shoot me.
So you are, at this point, you're not wanting to live.
No. And that was the first time that I actually recognized that I didn't want that I just wanted to be dead. But again, later on in recovery, I realized there were actually, it's from a very young age. I've always thought I was better off. I had always thought that I was better off dead. I did try to commit suicide a few times in the next few years.
What kind of things were you trying?
Well, so I did try to cut myself once.
It's got to be tough.
But I did. It was a very poor attempt at it.
Like, ow!
That's barely more than a scratch, right?
So that wasn't your method.
One time I tried to wrap a belt around my neck.
Oh.
I just couldn't put enough. Like basically, I was doing
no force,
but I just couldn't put enough force on it. And then I'd walk around. I would bruise, and people were like, "What happened?" I'm like, "Oh." I tried walking in front of buses a couple times.
Oh my gosh, Felipe!
And part of it was that once things got really bad, as if they weren't already bad, while I was doing drugs that during the night, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I never want to do this anymore. I'd wake up the next day, 8, 9, and 10 in the morning. I'm never doing drugs anymore. I can't. I don't want to. 12 o'clock. Yeah, I don't want to do drugs.
Fading away.
2 o'clock. Well, maybe tomorrow or 3 o'clock. You know what? I haven't heard from my dealer in a while.
Let me check on him.
I'm going to check on him, see how he's doing. I didn't have a phone or anything because obviously it had been pawned a long time ago. And I'd walk to the pay station around the payphone because we had payphones.
Yeah.
This is how long ago this was.
Oh, yeah.
Payphones. I very vividly remember being on autopilot. My mind was saying, don't go to this payphone. I don't want to go to this payphone. My legs, they just kept walking. I did not want to, but I would every single time. I was like, all right, so now that I was at the payphone, please don't answer. Please don't answer. Please don't answer. So I call, no answer. I start walking away. Well, maybe I didn't let it ring enough time. Or
you can't get out of your own way.
Maybe he was in the shower.
Yeah. It's amazing how the mind works, though. It's like the subconscious of you who really wants out is there, but it's like it's a bull that's standing on top of you, and you can't get it off of you.
No, and it wasn't fun. It wasn't.
The fun is long gone.
No, and certainly not anything near that first time. We're like, yeah, it's great. Now I'm at the point where I'm actually having psychotic episodes, like psychotic symptoms.
Like what? Give me an example.
So I thought there were cameras in my apartment and microphones.
Oh, and
I would hear things and I would see things. So now I'm all like cracked out in my apartment, shaking, and like I would the apartment came with like these paintings and things on the wall. I thought there were cameras, like how they put those hidden cameras in.
Yeah, like a spy situation.
I thought there were cameras in the frames, so I would take them down. But then the nail was there.
And then maybe it was in the nail.
Microphone. So I took the nail out, but now there's a hole. So now I'm thinking there's a camera in there. So now I'm like standing there with my thumb on the hole, but then there's another one over there, and
you're just driving yourself nuts.
It was absolutely crazy. And then I was hearing things, and I would hear things like radio chatter. So I would be like, he's in the living room. He's in the.
So you think there's a real spy going?
I think, and then in my brilliant mind, I think a lot of us addicts go through this. Well, I don't have money to support my habit. Maybe I can find a way to support this habit, and maybe I can try to sell. And I'm doing the math. I can ask for this amount up front, then I can divide it up, and then sell it for this amount. But then I can use this amount for myself. And I tried that twice. Once, I had it that night where I started dividing it, and then I just started going through it, where now I was taking away from the ones I was going to sell.
Oh yeah.
Or upping the price in like doing the math in my head.
Yeah, a little more expensive than I get a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. And then I ended up using it all.
Yep.
The second time I tried, again with this, part of what my psychotic symptoms were was I thought the DEA was onto me.
Because of course they were.
We don't have the DEA.
No.
I thought they were onto me. So now I'm all cracked down on like, I don't know, it was at like 7 or 8, 9 grams that I had in me. And I had like 15 grams
on the table
on there. And I'm like, they're coming. No, flush it down the toilet.
Oh no.
So now a bunch of money.
You're in debt.
A lot of money. And so I got some people looking for me. I ended up figuring out a way to like get them paid off. Never succeeded at selling anything. Because I just would use it, or that was like because of these psychotic symptoms and hearing things. I swore every little noise. If there was a crack in the Costa Rica, we use those tin roofs, and when the sun comes out, they expand and they can make a sound.
Oh, okay.
And so I thought they were on the roof about to rope down. I thought I would watch TV, and they had subtitles in Spanish, and the subtitles were not the words that the movie was saying. They were messages.
Oh.
I even went. Do you know the what's this? A Beautiful Mind?
Yeah.
Where like in his,
you can see all the
and he starts seeing patterns and things at night. That's what I was doing.
Like you said with the guy earlier about how the cocaine would sneak up and slowly start to squeeze you. Now it's suffocating.
Oh, yeah.
You're listening to the Fit for Radio podcast, and of course, brought to you in part by Motorsport Hillsboro, because spring is here and the deals are on at Motorsport Hillsboro. Save up to 60% off on gas e-bikes because, of course, gas prices are going up, but the prices are going down at Motorsport Hillsboro. And if you're into good deals, how about $8,000 off MSRP on a Kawasaki Ridge side-by-side? It's all there right now. Go check them out today. There's a reason people come from far and wide to Motorsport Hillsboro to make their purchase for their off-road adventures come this summer. And of course, since the spring is here, the sky is blue. Let's get it. Motorsport Hillsboro, it's your spot. Stay rad. Save gas. So through all these kind of moments of, these manic episodes that are happening and hearing voices and seeing the beautiful mind thing going on, it's all kind of like leading to just a real dark spot here at the end of this era of your life. How do you end up in the situation that changes your life?
So I was still able to keep jobs, somewhat. Find jobs at least.
Mm-hmm.
But it did get to a point when I was about maybe 28-ish where I could no longer find a job. I ended up losing the last apartment. Well, I had lost the last apartment I was in. Then I went to couch surfing. But then I had run out of that as well.
That only goes so far.
And then it'd been maybe about a year. Let's call it about a year where I hadn't seen my son. So I dropped him off one day and then I just like disappeared. Like I was not there for about a year.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm on the street. Now I'm living on the street in Costa Rica.
That's got to be tough.
And it was, interestingly, there are a few things I miss about living on the street.
Yeah?
Yeah. Going back to the loyalty and the family thing, never really fitting in anywhere. There is a code that you live by when you're on the street. And there's a way that things get handled that obviously is not the way things should be handled, but it has rules. There's rules. And sometimes I wish we could solve issues the same way we did on the street. It's so like the first night when I was like officially homeless. Like I didn't have anywhere to go, no friends to call, nowhere, nothing. This guy comes up to me and tried to sell me some stickers. That's what people do. There's like lollipops or stickers and things like that. And I'm like, dude, I don't know. You got some more stickers that I could sell? And he's like, oh, are you on the street? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, dude, no way. Come. Are you hungry? I'm like, yeah, I actually can. Yeah, I kind of am. He's like, oh, come here. I'm going to show.
So there's a sense of family within that.
Yeah. This guy was like amazing. We became really good friends. We looked out for each other, and he was the one that showed me the ropes. And so this guy, Chino, he is his nickname. He like takes me to the garbage can right behind Taco Bell. He's like, if you're here at about 9:30, it's when they're about to close. Sometimes
they dump the food.
They dump the food, so you have to. If you're here early enough, it's still okay. And he showed me like the different tricks and things like that. I'm a bad street person, I guess. I need to take a shower. I need to brush my teeth.
Because seeing you here now, all cleaned up, you've got a nice outfit on. You look like you could be working at the bank. The envisioning you on the street,
it was very different.
Is a tough place.
Yeah, it was very different. All I had was a pair of jeans, a shirt, and a Dora and Explorer backpack that I stole. And the thing I would steal, like my friend, he would go in and steal like it's almost like moonshine. It's this disgusting,
like a cheap alcohol.
Yeah, but just like it's what the true alcoholics.
Yeah, it'll like, borderline make you blind, but it'll do the trick.
Yeah. We'd go into the supermarkets and he would steal some of those. I would steal toothbrushes and deodorants. And at this point, I'm like, there's no way out. There just isn't a way out.
It's a sense of dread there.
I would see some use newspaper to keep warm, and I would look at the sports section, and I'd see some of the guys that I grew up playing with going to the World Cup.
And that's hurting you even more at this point.
I was there, or maybe I could have been there. I didn't know what to do. I was basically there. For me, it became a matter of there are worse things than being dead. And it's being alive the way I'm living right now. I wasn't living. I wasn't alive. I was dead.
You were breathing, but you were dead.
Basically just going through the motions, waiting to die.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I maybe tried like 3-4 times before. But there was one day where I was like, this is it. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And so that morning, this would have been September 27th, 2012. From like early morning, 5 a.m, I was out asking for money. Just everybody asking, making sure I got that rush hour, asking all day, money. And I actually got quite a bit of money. Almost like what is now about $100. And in order to have as much money as possible to buy drugs, I walked like 5 miles to like the place where I knew I could get the most because it wasn't going through anybody. It was
you could go right to the source.
Right to the source. And I went, and I bought like 20, because I was a frequent flyer and I knew the people, and they were like, I bought 20 grams, but they were like,
yeah, you get the Costco deal.
Baker's doesn't,
little extra.
And I had money left over to go and buy a 30 pack of beer. I went to a used clothes store and stole a pair of jeans, and I went to another one and I stole a polo shirt because that night was going to be my last night. And when they found me, I didn't want to be in the rags that I was in. And I had a little bit of money left over to check myself into one of these like bad hotels, like this,
seedy,
it's super seedy. And so I was going to be able to like take a shower, put clean clothes on, and then that was going to be it. I was just going to go until my heart stopped. And I'll never forget that when I was checking in, the woman there, she just, I don't know what kind of face I walked in with or like what she felt or what kind of energy I was giving off. But she stopped and she listened, are you okay? I'm like, yeah. What do you care? Just give me the key.
Yeah.
No. Are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, fine.
Wow.
So I check myself in, go to the room, and I start going. I'm just like, just going nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where now I'm trying to do lines and it's not even going through.
It's just like clogged up.
Yeah. And just drinking the beers, just pounding beers.
You're going for it.
And every, I don't know how often, but every certain amount of time, this woman, she'd come and knock on the door. Like, hey, are you okay? Yeah.
Like, why are you at my room?
Go away. The last thing I remember was that I was running out of beer and I was trying to figure out how to go get beer. But at the same time, I'm like, because of this, like, whenever I did cocaine, I was hearing things and seeing things. So I didn't know how I was going to make it to some supermarket to steal beer.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have any more money.
Yeah, you bought all the cocaine.
That was the last thing I remember. The next thing that I remember was, so the plan was that day, that was going to be it. That night, that was going to be it. If for some miracle I was still alive the next day, I was going to do something about it. But it was really easy to make that deal with myself because I was not.
Like, you won't be here for that.
There won't be, and it's not going to be necessary to figure out what to do because I'm not going to be here.
It's over.
So the next thing I remember is I had the paramedics around me. And
you're alive.
And that lady. And as soon as they saw me, they saw me open my eyes and they're like, hey,
he's alive.
And I open my eyes and it takes me a moment to figure out like what's going on. And the first thing I did was try to punch the guy. Like, why did you bring me back? Then I started crying. I just broke down. Like, why did you bring me back? You were supposed to let me go. This is not what was supposed to happen. I don't have anything. I don't have anybody. And that guy, he hugged me. And that was the first time I had been hugged in I don't know how long. And this paramedic, he says, it's going to be okay. And I'm like, and I didn't even have energy to argue with him but in my head, I'm like, no, you don't know. Like, it's not going to be okay. Nothing is okay. That's why I was supposed to be dead. I wasn't supposed to be alive. And he just like held me, and told me it was going to be fine. It was going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the lady, she bought me some food and then also kicked me out. But
yeah, like you got to go. But
and then that day, I was like, well, now what do I do? What do I?
You can't do that again.
My life is so bad. My life is so terrible. I'm such a screw up that I can't even do this right. Mm-hmm. So now what do I do?
Yeah.
And so it took me a little bit to kind of figure out what to do. At this point, I was so beat up. I didn't have energy to even go ask for money. I didn't have energy to go find food. I was just, maybe I'll just starve, whatever. And then I remember I was at that waiting room in the emergency department on October 3rd. And that night I'd finally gotten a little bit of sleep and I was kind of woken up by the sound of women crying, but I didn't open my eyes. I was, they were just kind of sitting near me. The crying kept getting worse. And in my mind, selfishly, I'm going to open my eyes and yell at them. Like, can't they see I'm sleeping? Like, go cry somewhere else. Mm-hmm. I'm in the emergency department waiting, right? But I'm thinking it's the place for me to sleep. And right when I was going to like say something to them, the doctor comes out to talk to them, to tell them. So it was the wife and sister of a guy whose birthday it was. And part of a gang, and a rival gang came and shot up the birthday, and this guy wasn't going to make it. The doctor was telling them that, they did everything they could and that they couldn't, that he wasn't going to make it. And that was when I opened my eyes. And there was something about seeing them. They were covered in blood, crying, just for whatever reason. That image was my moment of, I don't know, enlightenment. It was the moment
that lit the fire,
where I had been thinking about what I was going to do, how I was going to change my life. I was going to try to figure out how to keep up with my end of the deal that I made with myself.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I remembered there was this rehab place outside of San Jose. And when the thought came to my mind, that's where I'm going to go, it was like the room got brighter. Like those dimmers, like someone
turned it all the way up
to 1,000. And this weight that I had gotten so used to carrying, all of a sudden got lifted. Like I was light, like I could breathe. Like there wasn't something just sitting on my chest.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think that that was the moment that I got rid of that hug from White Death that was just squeezing and squeezing. And I was like, tomorrow morning, it was just after midnight. Like, as soon as it's light, I'm walking over there. And so I went over to this place, banged on the gates. He was like, please let me in. And they let me in. They were like, we'll let you stay here. You do what you say, what we tell you to do. You get a bed, you get 3 meals, and, but you have to do everything we say. And that was how I started my journey in recovery.
And so when you go there, do you stay? Do you make it through? What happens?
Yeah. So I ended up being there for 6 months, part of the program for 6 months, 3 months inpatient. And of course, after a few days, now I'm feeling better.
Are you thinking I got this?
Maybe I can go back out. So now my mind is saying, stay here for a couple of weeks, eat, recover, and then get back out there. But the reality was that I was seeing some of the other people that were there and what kind of shape they were in too. And at the end of the block, there was this house or apartment that had parties every night.
Oh no.
And every night they started out great. Music, people laughing, they were having fun. And every night it ended with women yelling, throwing glasses, the guy yelling. You would hear stuff breaking,
Very negative in the end.
And I was like, I think that was so important for me, because it was like one of the things they say is play the movie all the way to the end, because my mind will play the movie right up into the good part. This is great. We're going to be excitement. We're going to go out and we're going to do this and that. And then stop and forget about what happens afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a very vivid reminder of like what was waiting for me out there if I went back out there. In the meantime, while I was inpatient, the only way to go out, go do anything was if someone came and took you to a meeting. And they say do 90 and 90 meetings, 90 days. I did like 120, because like whenever somebody came,
here, I'm coming.
I'll go.
Yeah.
I'll get out of here.
Yeah. The Fit for Radio podcast is brought to you by the Stafford Hills Club. And if you've never come here and taken one of their classes, you really should do so. Their instructors are really good. I took the Pilates Reformer class here, and she made me feel like I could be comfortable in the room. Let's get it right, though. I've got a lot to learn when it comes to Pilates, but that's how you do it. You just got to show up and give it your best right here at Stafford Hills. They make you feel comfortable, and it's a family environment, not just being able to bring your family here, but also the people together feel like a family. Check out everything to offer at staffordhills.com. Tell them Drew sent you for half off your initiation. So you're still in Costa Rica at this point. You've completed the inpatient. You've gotten through the outpatient stuff, and you're starting to feel that athlete again, and you're kind of scratching that itch a little bit of what it is you want to do.
Yep. So at this point, I'm still trying to figure things out. The first thing is work, because I got to pay for my son. I got to be responsible for my son. I got to make up for that time that I wasn't there. So that's the number one goal. When I was coming, I started working while I was still a part of the rehab program. But when it was coming time close to graduating, to leaving, that was probably one of the scariest times in my life, because it's one thing when, at first I was under direct supervision. Then there was still some supervision, but still like not as much, but like there was somebody there.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was going to do once I was on my own. Like nobody watching. What was I going to be able to keep this going?
Would you slip?
But one of the things that has been constant, and now even with cycling that I get to go to other different countries, I always go to a meeting. Whether it's if I go to another state, I find a meeting. If I go to another country, I find a meeting. And it's very interesting that no matter where I go, there are general rules that seem to be the same no matter what. And one of them is when somebody's talking about relapse, I got comfortable. I had a good job. I had a good wife. I had a family. I kind of stopped talking to my sponsor. I stopped going to meetings. I stopped doing the steps. And then I relapsed.
That's how you slip.
While I was in treatment, my dumbass was, I got nothing, right? I got some donated clothes on. And I go into this AA meeting and this girl walks in. And that entire meeting, I'm only paying attention to this girl. Like, who is she? And I called it the druggy buggy. There's this little van that brought us from rehab to meetings. We got back into the druggy buggy. I was like, guys, that girl's going to be my girlfriend. Like, just wait. I'm like, shut up, you idiot. Yeah. But we ended up dating.
Nice.
She was in Costa Rica. She's from Portland. And she was in Costa Rica also for recovery. And so that's how we met. And it wasn't, neither of us knew how to be in a relationship. I'm still in rehab, right?
Yeah.
So she wanted to come back to the States, to Portland. She had a 2-year-old son at the time, and she wanted a little bit more support with her kid. And I'm like, in hindsight, I think she was maybe trying to break up with me without breaking up. So she's like, I'm going back home. And I'm like,
you're like, I'm coming with you.
I'll go with you. So that's how I ended up in Portland.
That's amazing. How long does this relationship last?
Not at all. Not very long.
Basically nothing.
I think we were together for about a month once we moved here.
See, and I think you might be better off in that scenario. Anytime you meet someone fresh off the druggy buggy.
Yeah. I was in rehab. Like, neither of us had.
You weren't in a position for that. Beautiful place you decided on.
Yeah, I'd never been here, but I think it was ended up being like what I needed in that moment, which is a place where I didn't know anybody. I'd never been here. It took away because in Costa Rica, I can find I can find whatever I want anywhere I go
right now.
Like, yeah. So
here you got to meet a whole new network.
I don't know anybody.
Which is good for you.
I didn't realize Portland had such a big drinking culture and like 3,000 beers on tap.
I know. You went to the center of the universe for that.
But anyway, so that's how I ended up here and started working as an interpreter. And for the first couple of years, it was work. Again, going back to like, I got to reestablish the relationship with my son. I got to make sure I'm paying for the things for him and be a present father. Be the father that I didn't have and not be the father I did have.
Yes. Change the culture.
Yeah. But after a couple years, I felt like I needed a little bit more balance in my life because it was just work. And I honestly didn't know how to make friends. How do normal people make friends? Because all I knew was you go to the bar and everybody's your friend. Like, how else do you meet people?
Where's the healthy way to do it?
Like, do you go to the park and be like, hey, well, that's crazy weather.
A good way to get tased.
Yeah. So, but ESPN had the Kona.
Yes.
And I remember as a kid, I was like, one day I'm going to win that. And that kind of, I remembered that. I was like, oh, always wanted to do a triathlon. Maybe I'll do a triathlon. So I think it was 2014 ish. I came to the States in 2013. Just under a year of recovery. They say in your first year of recovery, don't get into relationships, don't make big changes, don't make big moves. I got a girlfriend, changed jobs, moved to another country.
So you did it all.
I did everything I wasn't supposed to. It ended up working out, but it definitely wasn't. I was lucky. It's not what you want to be doing. So I found out about the Blue Lake Triathlon.
Okay.
Like a week before. I figured out where to rent a wetsuit. I figured out where to rent a bike. They're like, you can't race the bike. I'm like, okay, I won't.
And did it anyway.
And I showed up, and it was like the amateur one, some sprint or whatever. I got into the lake, and it was cold. There was some slimy stuff that touched my foot, and it was scary with all these people splashing around. And like I made it out of the water last. Then got on the bike, then did the run. And then I was just kind of hanging out, figuring out whether or not I could go talk to people, see if I could join a team or something. But I was kind of shy because, again, I don't know how to approach people without alcohol or drugs. And while I'm mustering up the courage to go talk to some people that were hanging out at a tent, I hear my name. And I'm like, oh, what's going on? And they're like, what's your name? And I said, Felipe. He was like, oh, here. And he gave me a little trophy. And I guess I won the amateur one.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And then I was like, oh, maybe this is the thing. But that water.
Not your thing.
So I kind of put it aside. Then a couple months later, I found out about the Black Diamond Triathlon in Enumclaw. And this time I was a little bit more well prepared for the swim. But same thing, I found out like a week before. So I rented a wetsuit, and there's not much training. When the race started, I just stood there and let everybody swim ahead. Like, because it was just too scary to swim around.
All the chopping of the water.
And so I just let everybody go. And then when I thought there was enough distance, then I started swimming. And I guess I didn't know about like looking up or anything or trying to figure out where I was. So I ended up swimming into the back of somebody. Oh, and they kicked my goggles off. And I swallowed all the water in the world. And now I'm drowning.
Oh, no.
And the guy on the kayak that was that was paddling on the paddleboard next to me, I could see him bending over and like yelling at me. And I'm over here like dying, drowning. I think this is this is it. And I come up for air one last time. And I'm out there long enough to hear him say, stand up. And I kind of put my feet down, and the water was like waist high. And I'm like, well, this is embarrassing. He's like, I was exactly at the halfway point. And he goes, well, what do you want to do? I mean, I can take you back, but then you're out. You can. And I was mad at him for not saving me. So I don't want to talk to you. And so I got on my back and just kind of kicked my way back. And when I got back to the transition area, people that were there saw me started to pack up. And like, no, don't give up. You can do it. And I'm like, no. Like, you don't know. You don't understand. Like, I almost died. It was a near-death experience, and I almost drowned. And like, I got all this water and the slimy thing on my foot.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the slimy thing. That was the thing. No, come on. You'll feel better if you just do it. Okay, fine, whatever. So I get on the bike. And I do remember I was going as hard as I could. I was just going. I don't know how fast I was going.
But you were all in.
I didn't have like a bike computer or anything. I was just going. It was this feeling of being free again. It was just me and the wind. I don't remember passing people. I don't remember I just remember I was happy. Got back to the transition area, started running, and I was like, man, I'm really far behind. There's like nobody running out here. And so I got back, I'm eating a burrito, and then again, I hear my name called, and like I ended up winning that one. Jeez. But the bike time, And again, it's the amateur, like
Yeah,
short,
but
short
still
course. Yeah.
to almost quit, be packing up, and then come back and win.
Yeah. And then I looked at the bike time, and my bike time was one of the fastest bike times of the whole race,
including the pros.
Yeah. And so I was like, well, maybe if I can figure out the swim, I can do this. So I got in touch with the Tri-Team PDX people and finally mustered up the courage and I got in with them. And they had swimming in December. And I'm like, why?
That's brutal.
Why are we doing it? They're like, oh, don't worry about it. It's the Portland State gym. That's the pool is heated. It's great. You love it. Like, okay, if you say so. And this was the winter that there was like a record low temperatures, and the Portland froze for like 3 days or like a week or something. And I remember I went there, got in, basically jumped out. This is too cold. Like,
done.
I'm not doing this. But through that same group of people, they had like strength training and indoor cycling with a guy named Sean Bosted.
Okay.
And he was super cool. And I was telling him about, I kind of wanted to get into this, but I don't know about the swim. And this would have been like January-ish now. And he said, 2015. And he said, well, why don't you just bike? I'm like, oh, what do you mean? Yeah, there's races. And like, he kind of explained the categories and this and that. And he said, there's a race. It's called Cherry Pie. It's in March. I'll help you get ready for it. I'm like, oh, okay, let's do it. So he helped me prepare for Cherry Pie. Cat 5. It was a super amateur race. Like, there was one guy off the front who we thought we were chasing, but apparently he missed his start. So he was trying to catch the other group, but we thought we were racing him. When we got to the finish, I didn't know where the finish line was. These two kids, 12 and 13-ish year olds, maybe 14, 15, they're kids, 13, 14.
Yeah.
Apparently the finish line had been moved a little bit further back. So they sprinted to where they thought the finish line was. I didn't know where it was. So I saw them sprinting. So I sprinted, and then I just kept going. And I only stopped because I hit an intersection and I almost ran into the back of some cars, and I left. And then I guess a couple of days later, I received a cherry pie in the mail, and it was because I had won the cherry pie race, and I didn't hang out for the podium. Nothing like making kids cry.
Yeah, way to go.
There's this picture of at that finish where like the one kid is just like, because realizing he was sprinted to the wrong place, because he basically stopped pedaling and I just kept going.
He could have won.
Yeah.
But he didn't.
So that was at that race, a guy named Chris Ramsey on Athletes Lounge at the time. I was like, hey, why don't you join our team? And so that's how I got into cycling.
Oh, cool. That's impressive to go about it in that way, and then to find success that early, right?
Yeah. And I actually was able to make it from Cat 5 to a Cat 1 in my first season, which I didn't know was actually really hard to do. But at that point, I was like, well, what else can I do? So I started doing all the local races. Then I started going to Washington and having some success there. And then in 2018, now I've rebuilt the relationship with my son. One of the first things I did the first year I came here was save money, because he was at that time maybe 6, 7 years old. So I would call, but he hadn't seen me in a long time. And the first time I saw him was the day before I left to come to the States. So talking on the phone wasn't really his thing. So I saved up money so I could buy him a PlayStation. And then I saved money so I could buy myself one.
Oh, and then you could play with him.
We could play online. And that was
smart.
The PlayStation has been the thing that has allowed us
bring you together,
to bring us together, and just have the most amazing relationship that we have now.
That's a smart move, especially when a kid's that age and they're reluctant to reopen the door with you, and like where you can kind of start on a like, let's be friendly, and then like you can ease yourself back into dad mode.
Yep. Yep. So it was a extremely important instrument in rebuilding that for us. And from there, it was like, well, how do I show my son? How do I give him life lessons, even though I'm not next to him every day, right? How do I teach him that even if things get hard, you still keep going, and that sometimes it works out, sometimes not. How do I teach him that if all of your dreams are coming true, then you're not dreaming high enough? You're just not. They're dreams because they're called dreams because they're not supposed to happen, right? And if you shoot higher than you otherwise would have, you will always end up higher than if you hadn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, well, why don't I go race the Costa Rican national championship and show my son, like, yeah, I lived on the street and now I'm racing this race. So in 2018, I made plans to go do that. I got myself a coach and I was getting ready to go do it. And about 3 weeks before the race, I went and played soccer and broke my ankle.
Oh, again?
Indoor, playing indoor.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that sets you back.
And so I missed that race in 2018.
So you've broken your ankle now a second time. Now it's been many years since the first time, but
actually a third.
Oh, it's a third time.
Yeah.
So is it the same ankle every time?
Yeah.
So it's been weakened now.
Yep.
And so you're playing a little soccer. You hurt the ankle. You missed that race. What do you do to get back?
And actually, real quick, the second one was in my first cyclocross race because everybody was like, "You got to do cyclocross. It's so much fun." It was wet. It was rainy. It was cold, and I broke my ankle. This is stupid. I'm never doing this again. I'm sticking to the road. So that's how. So I kept going with road.
Yeah.
So 2018 didn't happen. 2019, we're gonna do it. So I call my friend down in Costa Rica. I tell him there's this race. It's on the coast. Bring your family. I'll take my son. Just drive behind the race. When I get dropped and I pull out, just pick me up and we'll spend the weekend at the beach. We go to the race. I ended up winning it. And this was definitely not a race I should have won. I was by myself, no teammates, going up against the best teams in the country, some of the best riders even in Central America, even arguably some of them in Central and South America.
So you even surprised yourself on this.
Oh, yeah. I was like, absolutely. I remember when they interviewed me right after the race, this guy comes up to me like, "Oh, you just won the national championship. Like, who are you?" I'm like, "I'm nobody. Like, I shouldn't have won this." There's no reason for me to have won this. I'm old. I was 30. Let's see, what was I? 36. I was the oldest elite national champion in Costa Rican history.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, there's just it was a real battle. And it was great because it's kind of what I like about cycling is it's a microcosm of what life is. Like that race had all sorts of barriers to get to because there was a bunch of people had taken to the streets over something or other. So I almost didn't make it to the race. During the race, I got dropped, came back, got dropped again, came back. Then, this just figuring out how to race and then going for it. So that was a great achievement, obviously personally, but the biggest thing was my son being able to see that. Right.
And that's a heck of a lesson for him.
That was the entire purpose of it. Like it couldn't have worked out any better. Like I thought I was going to just have a chat with him. Like, yeah, you sometimes go for these things that are big and sometimes they don't work out. And, it didn't work out for me today, but I tried. And that's the important thing. But him seeing the win, I guess.
It helps to motivate him too.
Exactly.
So do you think you went a little harder? You pushed a little harder subconsciously because he was there?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because the entire time I was like, well, I mean, I can't ask him not to give up if I'm going to give up. So like when I got dropped, it was like, yeah, you keep going because you got to show him that you keep going no matter what.
Absolutely. It's a great message for him.
So from that point on, it was like, well, what else can I do? How else can what other lessons, how far can I take this? And I thought as a national champion, it'd be easier to get a call to the national road team Unfortunately, with my history, and I didn't know it at the time, but Costa Rica does have a big doping problem. It's just a cancer that's taking over.
Yeah.
And because of my history, I've been very outspoken against it. And that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And so
there were politics in it.
The politics kept me out of the road cycling national team. So I'm like, what am I going to teach my son about this? That what they're saying no. How am I going to make it happen? So in 21, I think it was, I found out that the cyclocross national world championship was going to be in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Okay.
And I'm like,
wet and cold.
But this is what I want to teach my son, right? So I found out about how to get into it, figure out cyclocross. And then I nagged the National Federation. I'm like, guys, you don't even know what cyclocross is. Like, just let me do this. I will figure out how to pay for it. I'm not asking for anything. Like, just let me do it. And it took like about a year of like nagging and just on it. And finally, I called the president of the National Federation on a Saturday morning to his personal phone. I was like, dude, just give me 5 minutes. Like, this is what I want to do. Please let me do it. I'm not asking you for anything. If you want to help me, great. But I'm not asking you for anything.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know what? Fine, do it. You pay for it, you do it. And so I got into cyclocross.
Wow.
And so I got to do, back then, they still had World Cup races here. So there was 3 of them. I did Waterloo, Iowa, and there was the practice run for Fayetteville. And then I went back for the World Championships in 21.
It's incredible.
And I guess because it's a very northern discipline, right? It's a actual winter sport.
Yeah.
And she gave me an interview at the World Cup race. And for me, it's this fine line of like trying to stay out of press and radio and films and things like that. But I also think about how when I was on the street, I didn't know of anybody that got out. That was one of the biggest barriers for me, is like there's no way out. There's no way out of this. Obviously, there are a lot of people who get out of it, but when I was there wasn't, right? And so I shared a little bit about what my story was. And then I actually had the opportunity to go to Europe, Belgium, to race. And there, what actually happened was, it was during COVID, the first year I went. So there were no spectators at the race. I had gotten pulled from the race. Oh, actually, no, my tubular tire rolled off the rim. So I had to pull out. And so this guy, he comes up for me, it was great because now I had front row seat anywhere on the course to watch like the best cyclists in the world. Yeah. So while I'm watching and cheering, this guy comes up to me. He's speaking Flemish or Dutch. And he's like, Felipe Nystrom, Costa Rica, and puts the microphone in my face. And I'm like, oh, words, and I'm just really happy, and this is great.
Yeah.
I never knew I'd be here after living on the street. A few hours later, one of the head people at the UCI sends me a message and says, you're famous. And I'm like, wrong number. And she goes, no, seriously, you're famous. I'm like, no, seriously, wrong number. And she sends me a link. Because it was no spectators, the only way to watch the race was on national TV. And this is a sport like Belgium, Netherlands.
Big deal there.
Like, this is huge. She goes, like, 8 million people saw your interview. So the next day, this was in Netherlands. The next day, the race was in Namur, which is Belgium. Belgium had enclosed, and Netherlands had Belgium hadn't. So that race had spectators. Because everybody had seen, well, not everybody, but so many people had seen my interview. At that race, everybody wanted to come see the Costa Rica. Like, who's this guy from Costa Rica?
Yeah. With the cool story.
And so that just kind of kicked off what would be the next three, I guess now for almost 5 years, where along with the personal goals of trying to race at the highest level, challenge myself at the highest level possible, which I've been able to do because there's nobody higher than Vanderpool or, Pogacar and those guys. It was also rebuild that relationship with my son, which, I mean, it's great. I just got back from welcoming his daughter.
Oh, congratulations.
Grandpa here.
You got a grandpa in the house.
And then just as importantly for me was how can I help other people get closer to whatever they want to achieve? And how can I, not just for my son, maybe help bring some other people along with for the ride.
I think it's so important. I mean, what you've done here by being willing to tell your story and to be open about it. Well, like you said yourself, you don't want a bunch of notoriety, and it's not about that, but it really is. It's a sign to somebody else who sees no hope. And like you said, you were going to a rehab that every single person is relapsing. There are people across the drug spectrum, whether it's cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, on down the list, who believe that once you're addicted to that drug, you'll never come back.
Yep.
And the sense of being lost inside of that it's treacherous and it's scary. And so what you, to me, are a testament to is that it can get so dark to where you're trying to kill yourself in a hotel room, all the way to where you are now, on a completely other end of it. And you're talking to me, so I'm feeling your energy and your presence, and you have this kind of lightness about you, and you have a sense of humor and a smile and all this stuff that you probably forgot that you had there for a while.
Oh, yeah.
And to me, it's very motivating just for the little things that I go through, and that you're like, okay, well, that's daunting. Well, it's really not as daunting as what you've dealt with. And I think it's a great message. And I appreciate the fact that you chose to share that on multiple platforms.
Yeah. It's been a great opportunity. I think, the thing that I like the most is it really is not, I'm not really after like the notoriety. I think we were talking previously about how it's not about reaching 1 million people. It's about reaching the one person that really needed to hear it. And the cool thing has been that because of what has happened over the last few years, I get a lot of messages on Facebook and Instagram and from people from all over the world. I'm really grateful for the ones that are always like, oh, you're so, we were cheering for you and all that. Like, I'm grateful for all the support, but the messages that really stick with me are the ones that come in and it's like, hey man, I'm really struggling. Like, I'm dealing with this. Do you have any advice? And getting to talk to those people. Those are the ones that everybody's important. And again, I really appreciate all the support, but like when I get one of those messages, like I'm thinking about ending my life. Like, I don't know what else to do. I don't have anybody to talk to. And then having the opportunity to talk to those people is something that I'm really grateful for and wouldn't have happened if I hadn't been able to do what I've been doing over the last few years. So I think it's a great opportunity to help others. And then, even if I don't get to talk to somebody, maybe somebody sees something or hears something in all of this. It's like, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe I'll go do that.
Yeah. And I would nudge anyone who's in that scenario to reach out to you or even to me to get a hold of you, because nobody understands more than the person who's been through it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's it's hard because, when normies, we call them, normal people that haven't done those things, they're saying, oh, that's bad, or, do this or do that. It's really hard to listen to them because you don't know what it's like. You haven't been to this. But being able to talk to people that you can feel like really understand what you're going through, is extremely helpful.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm just so happy the fact that you're kind of paying forward the whole idea of what happened to you, that receptionist in that hotel room taking the initiative to not just be passive or to worry about their own life. You know, that lady could have just looked down, or she could have turned on a TV show and stuck her hand on her chin and just called it a day, and you would have willowed away in that room. And so in a different way, but in the same way, you're paying that forward for other people, that you're choosing not to just be about you. And you could easily be like, well, I've had my own problems and this is my life. And you talk openly and outwardly about other people. And that's when we sat down to talk about doing this interview. That was the whole reason, was so that you can touch these lives. So I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it's an amazing life. Now I can say it's an amazing life.
Yeah. Well, you've earned that, you know?
Yeah.
And you continue to help people, even with your translation, making sure people understand what it is that's happening with them. And that in itself is so important.
And even that, the place where I looked for safety, shelter, the hospital down in Costa Rica. Now I get to do, instead of being a leech of society in one of them, I get to be a small part that's helpful to other people going through some of the worst situations that people can go through in hospitals. So I think that one is actually one that every day amazes me, how that one kind of came
full circle. It's impressive. Well, Felipe Nystrom is in studio. He is he's a legend. And now I'm so glad that, you know, all those people during the COVID time got to see your stuff on national television, just because it's almost like a perfect storm, the way that it all came together like that, and that it helped to tell a story that I think is so important. And if anybody is facing stuff like that, where they're dealing with the dread or don't think that there's a way out, please reach out, because you are not alone. And we could all use that hug. And if you haven't had it in a while, you deserve it. So Felipe Nystrom, thank you so much for coming in and sitting down with me today.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. It was amazing.
And hopefully we'll hear more from him soon. And you never know what's next for a guy who never gives up. It's the Fit for Radio podcast. And make sure you are following us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you check your podcasts out, live from the Stafford Hills Club right in Tualatin, Oregon. It's the Fit for Radio podcast.